Not too Welcome everyone back to the BOL Diamond stream. I am Root. I'm joined by Ozzy once more, and we have ourselves a banger matchup in the Diamond division today. These guys are coming in at a combined 7-1. Every series they've played has been a 2-0. We got Iceborn Carrots starting on the blue side for game one, Syndicate Monarchs on the red. Ozzy, how are we feeling on a wonderful Thursday?
I'm feeling okay. I'm a little sick myself. Of course, our producer Loki is, well, if you could hear her, chat, she is incredibly sick, so hopefully she gets to feeling better soon. But I'm also a little sick myself today. But other than that, I'm feeling actually quite good, so I'm excited between. I mean, honestly, if we're being very honest here, like Iceborn Syndicate, very well known, like Emerald Diamond level play. So are we really shocked that these two teams are very, very good? No, I'm not. Sorry, I'll
No.
just keep it there. Should expect a close one today, though, because of the skill of both teams today. So probably going to 3. Although I'd imagine with how sick Loki is, probably cursing, begging the desk or something, hoping that doesn't happen. But regardless, that's my prediction. Also, we're playing on the new patch. Most notably,
Yes.
Deathfire Touch. No longer able to be utilized with Black Cleaver because they made Deathfire Touch damage magic damage. So things like Smolder and the Senna, which were the two biggest users of the Deathfire Touch when it was adaptive, in the 80 carry role, abusing the Black Cleaver thing, can no longer do so. But we will have the Orianna first pick, which this champion is just still one of the best competitive mid laners in the entire game and won't be changed because in solo queue she's just not good enough to be nerfed. So not shocked it's coming out here on B1.
Not shocked at all. Though maybe shocked that it got let through here by Syndicate. As when it's let through, it is very often taken as the B1 pick. Clearly had something planned for the retaliation, though. They're going to go Rakan in early rotation, and amongst other things, with the Deathfire Touch being changed, we also have big changes to a lot of support runes as well, right? We've got Summon Airy being nerfed, we've got Guardian and Glacial, not Glacial, the Aftershock rather, coming back to the forefront. Rakan, someone who really does like using the Guardian, so I'm not surprised to see him popping up in a game such as this, and the Wukong there alongside, as it looks like Iceborn can be looking for their own support afterwards.
Yeah, so a lot of Enchanter nerfs. Now they did make the Bubble Maker support item have better QOL, so it ends up being a buff for some enchanters while being a nerf for the most popular enchanters at the moment. But we are going to get double engaged this game, so kind of moot point talking about the enchanters. But I suppose if you are Riot trying to kind of even the load between the enchanters versus the engage, well, this game is showing that at the very least teams are willing to pick engage. Although, this is BOL Diamond, so are we really going to take that with any kind of value in terms of balancing the game? Who knows? Anyway, Skarner also has been on the rise for a couple patches now. Although definitely not a game one champ usually, very much later and fearless kind of champion when you kind of exhausted a lot of your bruiser junglers like the J4. Also, Lee Sin has really come back in terms of popularity. So we'll see if that's ever picked out. But again, that champion is just so hard. If you don't have the hours on the champion, getting value out of it is not that great. But I desire Khan to help counter the dive here from Iceborn, I think, is very smart.
Yeah, and still somewhat scared of the Smolder as well. After taking their ADC, banning away a different one, just to make sure they don't have to worry about any Smolder lanes just scaling beyond what the Xayah can deal with. I don't really know. Yeah, I'm kind of out of this enchantment. I've kind of forgotten what normally gets paired with the Nautilus. You can go things like Kaiser, I guess, but maybe feel like your damage split's a little bit rough if you're Iceborn. You go something like that. You want something that can go forward as your ADC. Smolder definitely something you can kind of dive in and out. But I feel like Iceborn set themselves up very interestingly for their 4-5 here. Syndicate, they got to work out as well what they want to take in the mid lane with Aurora being banned away, Akali from previous bans as well. That mid pool getting slightly narrowed as well as the Orianna is still just standing there menacingly.
Yeah, I think the Kaisa ban here from Syndicate is incredibly smart. Like, I do think, like, if we recall all the way back to Season 8 when Kaisa got released, I mean, it was like ice meta. So, like, both champions have the exact same range. And Kai'Sa was kind of brought into the game to kind of check Xayah overall in terms of design. So, kind of the opposite there. But TF has also, in my opinion, been kind of a sleeper pick. Again, is it a game one champion? Probably not. But I don't hate it this game. It does give you some added lockdown here. Same with Syndra though. The Scatter of the Week a little bit better in terms of stopping the Skarner, but it will be the Lissandra lock-in here to try and get on top of this Orianna. And this is telling me that we might see some heavy mid-focus here from the Wukong, especially post 6. I think Varus could work here as well. I don't like the Lucian here. I think Lucian is pretty bad this game.
Yeah,
I think
especially when you've
Varus
already picked up
loses.
the Nautilus, right? Lucian loves the enchant metas, doesn't enjoy the engages as much. So I had to see, I think Varus, a much safer option here for Iceborn. If you're picking this Varus, which route do you want to take it? Are you taking lethality or on hit right now?
Oh, I mean, it just depends on the game. I think this game I'm probably gonna go for, like, I think it depends. If tank top gets locked in on their R5, I think you're kind of forced into playing on hit, but at the same time, I think going lethality, or it honestly depends. Can't even call it lethality anymore if you keep up with LPL, but uh, let's call it poke for no,
Yeah.
because well, let's call it poke, but just the team. However, I don't think that's ever getting locked in, so don't worry about that. But regardless, I
Aatrox
think
does make it hard to pick those tops that you're talking about, though.
yeah, that is true. You don't want to give him a free matchup. Of course, one of the original Scion counters, that was the initial tech, and then we had like the Rek'Sai kind of being the true answer into it initially, and it will be Cassante. I don't know. I think you can get away with poke this game. Yes, I think Cassante could be an issue if you go super late, but I mean, think about how much you outrange the enemy team if you're playing poke this game, right? Like, how are they going to find a comfortable engage when they're half HP? Because you're just laying down poke. And to talk about the build from the LPL, it's very odd. Very, very, very odd, but I have been playing it, especially into things like Caitlyn. You buy tier, then you build Shiv, and then you build, like, bruiser poke items. You're not building, like, actually lethality.
Hmm.
So we'll see if that comes out. I doubt it. I think this is not a good game to go for it. Unless he thinks he needs the wave clear against something like the Xayah, because Xayah does have great wave clear. But I think they're level 1. They actually do need to be careful, because Zyrocon, of course, very strong, level 1.
Yeah, and especially beyond level 1 as well, when that pullback is unlocked at level 2, getting that early push on the wave so important for the Xayah to really work with the Rakan. Iceborn, on the other hand, plenty of time to work with in their own comp. Their scaling, it definitely exists, though it might not quite reach the heights of something like that Xayah Rakan, which can be so potent early and also late game with those feathers that just keep on getting sharper, getting much more difficult to stand up against. Headed out of this draft, then we have very solid front to back look in here from Iceborn. Similar ideas for Syndicate, trying to mitigate poke where they possibly can. Who do we fancy headed into game number 1?
Alright, simply I think I'm gonna give it over to Syndicate for game number 1. Reason being is they have so much CC. Like, this Aatrox, yes, can be a threat, right? Like, if he can find, like, a very chaotic team fight where Syndicate are just not on the same page. But think about the counter engage potential here from Syndicate, right? You have Rakan, you have Wukong, both of which have incredible counter engage potential. You have Cassante, if need be, to pull away that Aatrox if the Aatrox ever does get onto your backline. And if that doesn't work, you still have Lissandra, right? Like, how is this Aatrox really going to threaten this backline of Syndicate, right? Where that is the shining point here. That being said, if the Saya doesn't get ahead and she falls behind, right? While I am a very large like advocate towards Lissandra's damage, I don't foresee Lissandra actually getting through this team comp very easily by herself. So that could be a problem point for Syndicate moving into this game if they do find themselves on the back foot in the bot lane that, this Varus could just simply take over the game by just outranging the opponents.
Yeah, it does almost feel like a game where both teams could have no damage in their worst case scenarios. Like it's just one of those where neither team has all that much punch power, right? It's a lot more peel back. There's a lot of engaged well for Iceborn, of course, but it's very tanky focused, and you got Oriana and Varus to really try and do the worst of it to Syndicate. On the other side of things, if this Xayah isn't somewhat in the game, Syndicate gonna have a real tough time, as you alluded to, in those team fights. It'll be fascinating to see what happens. We're gonna take a short break, and we will get to see firsthand what happens when we get ready to hop onto the rift for game number 1 after this.
Can we make the final call? We are the ones to ignite the darkened skies. The champions of a world that we defy. A soul array of the few who rise up high. And we all fight at the last light. Can we bring to fall the giants? Can we bring to fall the giants? Can we bring to fall the giants? Can we bring to fall the giants?
Welcome everyone onto the Rift for game number 1 of the series between Iceborn and Syndicate in the BOL Diamond. Both these teams, we've said before, only 2-0s so far. 7-1 combined record. Iceborn coming in with the slight advantage, up at 4-0. 8-0 in overall match score. Syndicate 3-1, and with an unfortunate 0-2 to add into the rest of their flawless season so far. Head into this game. The stakes are, as such, set. Players just have to now play it out, and we're still seeing a summon Airy. Very interesting to point out there. Mirai does not care about the recent nerf to that rune at all. He's just going to lock it in anyway.
I mean, it's only a shielding nerf, so damage-wise, it's still fine. It's just simply worse for enchanters. I think they nerfed it the correct way. I guess it does ultimately hurt some of the survivability you can get through in team fights to your teammates as Oriana later, but in reality, I don't hate it this game. I think it'll... Oh, well, that, Alright, we're back.
He's moving.
Yeah,
I got a little bit confused, a little bit scared, I'll be honest, when I saw that
easy.
message and then him walking back to his fountain, but looks like he's back in. Fire Mana with the briefest of disconnects, straight back into things, but we are going to have the post-pause bug. We can assume the players took a brief hiatus to make sure everyone's ready, and then we're straight back into things. Nice dodge away there from a dredge line, using that grand entrance to take a grand exit there. Was perfect attempt. Make sure he keeps the health pool nice and high as well.
It ends up being the Comet here and coming through from Keyhall, which, again, I do think, like, Poke is definitely better this game. Again, I think utilizing the full potential of your range is good, worthwhile.
Hello, level 3 as a Wukong is kind of crazy, especially when Askana's on the other side of the rift. You can do a whole lot more work than you as a ganker at this early phase. Unfortunately for Katarina, did land most of the damage onto the Wukong. If he landed any of that onto Fire Mana, I think we're talking about a very dead-looking Lissandra. As a result of what happened there in mid, it is just Mirai who has burnt the Summoner at the end of the day. Cowburn's going to be absolutely fine to get back to a decent amount of HP by clearing those 3 bot-sided camps. Katarina with a slight tempo advantage. Looks like he's been able to close routes a little bit faster than the Wolves. Overall, not much happening apart from that flash being burnt in mid.
Yeah, a bit interesting look from Caliburn. Yes, I think you do have good gank potential thanks to your Lissandra, but I don't think... Oh,
what a level up time for Mirai! Oh, that is disgusting. Oh, Fire Mana, I feel bad. A random minion dying to the wave flips the fight on its head, and Mirai is able to get first blood off the back of it. That's such a nice kill angle until it isn't. Fire Mana thought they had it in the bag, and to be fair, I thought it too. The flash angle was perfect, the root just catching, the follow-up damage guaranteed to get the kill until it isn't. First blood goes over to Mirai, and I don't know if that's luck or skill, but he's not going to be complaining, I can tell you that for certain.
yeah. I mean, I feel like Fire Mana should have known that the level up was going to happen soon, and I think trying to force that play is very bad for you in general, because if it does go wrong, right, like, what do you gain out of it? Like, your wave state's actually not in a good spot even then, so I don't know. I feel like going for that play is just genuinely not worth it. And obviously, definitely not worth it if you're going to give up first blood, as Bill Murray does get knocked up, but should be able to walk himself away.
Surprised doesn't even try and go for the counter engage, just pulls himself back to the turret. Doesn't even want to try, and then you turn that one there around a little bit. Has heal to mitigate the worst of what could be potentially forthcoming. Care how low on mana, as you'd expect from Varus in the early game, as you pointed out earlier, has got a Comet. It looks like we're trying to do some weird fighting all across the rift right now. I think Bill Murray going slightly wide on a dredge line. We're also stealing away Raptors there on the top side from Katarina. First base for a bracer, and he's not quite the old Sejuani with a giant spell equal full build type thing, but it's a similar vibe.
Yeah, definitely pretty similar vibe there. Of course, going to be the hard steel coming through, but
New improved.
Yeah, true. That they did buff it, perverted the nerfs from a very long time ago, because it was getting to be a little bit too good, but I feel like they can kind of buff that item's power once
This
more.
is a fun roam timer that Perfect Tempo has found for themselves. Unfortunately, there is no chance of a follow-up. It would have been really good to try and punish that flash that Mirai had, but about 3 minutes ago, as things stand now, and there's just no one really in the vicinity. Calvin's still waiting on his level 6. I believe he may have been able to steal his Raptors back to try and get back to camp parity, but doesn't feel great when there's no follow-up from mid or from jungle when you go up as a support. And having a look at mid, but we have a look up to top as well because we are going double ults here, all out up against the World Ender, and there is anti-heal
shot.
for Loco Poco, so it's a solo bolo as counter is going to fall down, just not respecting the power of an early Bramble Vest.
Yeah, I mean, also just the early power of the all out, right? Like, it's so strong. The amount of
Exactly.
all-in potential you get from the ability, you just get so much extra damage. But also, you like kind of look at like components here for the Aatrox. I mean, in what world is that ever going your way? I think should have just pulled the flash early and tried to live there, but instead tries to raid back and gets punished for it. Has excellent flash there from Loco Poco to dodge out on the Q3, which might have made the living difference for counter there. Although I severely doubt it. I do not think that would have changed anything. But regardless, nice little solo kill on the top to even up the kills now, as first Drake actually does end up going over to Syndicate as well. Thanks to the winning bot lane that they have at the moment. And it will be the lethality virus coming through, will not be the weird Shiv Cruiser.
Yeah, I was having a look at some Varus builds in the break, and in solo queue in particular, it seems like the Shiv into Ginsu's is actually what people are going with most, and then you go third item Terminus, which seems interesting in its own right, but that is a little bit more on hit than you were describing this time around. Not going to bother with any of that. Just going to throw out his ultimate at level 6. The chains are going to corrupt Solar Mason, who does have a Feather Storm to pull himself back, but he still has 3 stacks to chuck down on top of him. Has to flash away from that piercing arrow as a result. So key summoner burnt there in the bot side as all the combat summoners also got used. Now it's kind of a 2 flash to 1 advantage if Bill Murray can maybe take advantage of it. With now Solar Mason, no ult, no flash, no barrier for the next minute or so. 4 minutes after that, still won't have that flash up either. Potential for Iceborn to look down towards bot now.
I think biggest win here for Iceborn is the fact Featherstorm is going to be on cooldown. Chains of Corruption comes up sooner, right? You have level 6 now on Bill Murray, so this should actually just be a very free kill on Desire. Should Solo Mason miss position ever. Perfect tempo.
What if perfect tempo is going to miss position? This is really awkward as a Ricard. Does have a grand entrance, also a flash and a battle dance to get out safely, but that was just awkward positioning, not respecting the Nautilus roam timer, nor where the Skarner had managed to get themselves to the Scorpion, impaling, but not quite finding enough damage with just the 2 of them. Rakan is going to escape this time around, but is going to be forced into yet another base, and that's now his flash ult as well. Even more impetus for Iceborn to make the way down to bot.
So Mirai actually just offered literally no damage for any of that lockdown. I think if you actually had the shockwave there, or even some of your damage, that should have been a dead Rakan. Because they actually invested double ult, right? They invested both the Impale and the depth charge, and ultimately got nothing but a flash, right? Which isn't ideal for a 2 ultimate investment, especially like pretty key ultimates. And I was just talking about like, oh, you know, there's this like timer where Solo Mason doesn't have ult or flash. That you
They're not even looking bot with it.
this, you know.
They
but
can't. They can't do it, as you're saying. They use the
Utilizing
Impale,
it
use the
is
depth
not
charge,
doing
and
it.
he's
Yeah.
safe. Maybe not even safe the other way around, as Cahal's going to be the one to flash instead. Nice angle found by Perfect Tempo, going for another grand entrance. Works out pretty damn well to get himself a key summoner back in the other direction. And you point out that this timer has completely fallen by the wayside. There is now very little impact to be found for Iceborn through the bot lane. They can find something on the top side, though. The Grubs did receive a buff in this patch that released today, and they will be looking to take all 3 of them, which I believe is what you need to be able to proc the buff, if I read things correctly earlier.
No, it's actually a buff to all 3 levels. It's just very
nice.
minor, very minor until the 3rd grub. So overall, should be nice. Katarina going to run away as a teleport coming through from Fire Mana does scare them off, but regardless, they get 3 grubs. And Iceborn, probably a little bit happier with how that went. No engage to be found, even though Right now, their top side definitely weaker because of the disparity from the Cassante Aatrox
Yeah,
matchup.
it does before. Like Aatrox usually does pretty well in tanks, but Cassante is a little bit of a unicorn in the sense that he is Cassante, and nothing quite feels like that champion. His ability to be tanky when he requires it, but also just have random kill threat, as we saw earlier, is just kind of unparalleled. It only feels like Ornn is even close, but still not quite on the Cassante level. Up now about a wave worth of CS, as well as that solo kill in the top side, providing a whole lot of stability for Syndicate as they look to take this game a little bit deeper. The rest of the team kind of doing about what's expected. Orianna with that early first blood is very sad for Fire Mana, who is now just down a considerable amount. 3 waves plus that first blood gold. Also getting chunked out under his own turret does not feel good. But bot lane is completely stable right now. They weren't able to punish that time we talked about before. The Rakan is absolutely fine, even without his flash. And the Wukong, very much so a factor in this game. Just remains to be seen where he's going to really feel his impact.
For me, Fire Mana being this far down in the Orianna also look at like the XP differential here, like already down an entire level because just managed to tick up to 9 and Mirai has been sitting at level 10. So at the bare minimum down an entire level already, which this again should be Drake here for Iceborn. They are investing a lot, but teleport coming
That's a
through.
TP.
Conte.
Interesting. Loco has his top lane quest. That's going to be a very tanky looking Cassante. Doesn't have item. As we're just going to flip the Drake, flip the fight. Let's just see what happens. There's no Aatrox to even be thought of. This is a 4v5 that Iceborn are happy to take, apparently. Khal's going to be caught out at the back of the pit. And he's the 3rd dead for his team. It's Mirai solo to escape, trying to run away, even trying to get some extra damage into Fire Mana. He's tanky enough right now with his smaller health pool, but plenty of damage to force them back. Drake stolen, though, for Syndicate is absolutely huge. The fight win on top of it is ginormous. And I cannot quite understand why Counter didn't even think of going down.
Doesn't have the World Ender available there, so maybe he just thought having the solo time on top side to maybe help him, like, stave off him dying earlier is
Soldier team down the river.
Now, the issue here is when you're playing these kind of fights, like where they're elongated and you're not getting your like Varus poke, you're just gonna get rolled over. Like you don't really have good consistent damage. The Orianna unfortunately hasn't like super spiked, especially because opting for the Blackfire Torch this game, which is a little bit slower in terms of like genuine like power spike, is better on 2 items than it is on 1, right? Comparatively to something like the Ludens. So doesn't have enough damage there from the Orianna to kind of make that play, even though a good shockwave comes through, gets some members pretty low, just not enough. And Iceborn lose the Drake that they started, and also lose the fight horribly. Although, I guess Mirai, to get some shining light, was the person to live, right? Which is your winner right now on the side of Iceborn. So I guess things could be worse in theory. Although, how much more worse could it have been? I'd say not very much.
Not very much, and it might be worse now that Bill Murray got caught up just walking too far forward. Not allowed to be there, my friend. Not when there's a Lissandra, Rakan, and a Wukong all in the area. Just the Frozen Tomb invested to get the kill on the support, his 2nd death of the game, the 5th death overall for his team. And Syndicate finding another advantage through bot, and it's the Lissandra, who was put so far behind early on, giving up that first blood, now finds himself 3-1-1, big shutdown to their name, and suddenly they're not just back in the game, they're thriving.
Yeah, absolutely thriving is a good way to put it. I think Bill Murray going for that play, right? Like, it makes no sense to go for that, like, try and get vision there. Your jungler is not even there to help you. Like, you're just on a solo mission into their jungle, or like their side of the map that you have 0 vision of, right? So yes, like the initial goal is to get vision, but you don't. Oh, Cahill.
Okay, sorry, flash. Grand entrance onto Cahill, has the flash barrier in response. Bill Murray, though, going to be the one caught out of Cyclone, going to slow down his escape, though Counter's turned up with a World Ender all of his own. Calburn going to get caught out here, the Q3 going to knock him up, and there will be a final blow finally dealt as the
there's a
Impale is
deal.
huge onto 2 more as well, and this is just shutdown central for Cahal. He's only able to get one of them technically as the Aatrox does in fact get 2 back in return. Down to bot lane we go because Mariah's traded ults with Fire Mana. That Shockwave feels like it did a little bit more than the Frozen Tomb. Didn't mitigate anything, just did it for a bit of healing. Ends up falling down. It's a 4-for-0 across the map. I don't know how Iceborn have even found that as an opportunity, but it's absolutely ginormous. The only slight caveat is the Cassandra in the side lane getting that first blood turret.
Yeah, well, I just said I don't know how things could have gone worse in the Drake play for Iceborn, but Syndicate respond with a bit of their own, going a little bit too far and disrespecting the collapse coming through from Iceborn. And they turn it around, and also in the bot lane, Fire Mana. At the end of the day, this is a Malignance Lissandra versus a Black Fire Torch Orianna, who Orianna is now spiking in terms of level. And then also has the better damage item overall between the two. So no surprise that she won that 1v1 there in the bot lane. Especially because Fire Mana wasn't able to ult the Shockwave for whatever reason. Just wasn't fast enough, or what be it, thought maybe he could live or something like that. I don't know. I don't know what the thought process was there, but regardless, the shutdown going over to the Orianna is pretty good.
This is a very dangerous thought process once more for Fire Mana. He's going to get caught out again. Chains of Corruption going to root him up. Kahal's going to be the one that's maybe more danger as a result, but it's a massive Peel Impale that can't quite save him because the Xayah turns up in time to get caught in a beautiful Shockwave from Mirai. He collects all 3 in the Circle of Doom, and Perfect Tempo is left absolutely scrambling after his bot lane and his jungle have both fallen down. A chain from the Aatrox is going to finish him off anyway, and it's just a Cassandra alive once more. He does go pathmakering forward, pulling the Aatrox into turret range with an all-out, but Counter's happy to just disengage after going 4-for-1 after a 4-for-0 fight. Iceborn keep on finding advantages.
They keep trying to send onto, Cahal, which I think is just the wrong choice. The Varus is not this genuine team fight threat you need to worry about. You need to worry about the Orianna. You need to worry
This is
about
not a 6-item Jinx.
On the Aatrox, right? Aatrox plus the Orianna are doing so much more in these fights, but they constantly keep sending to try and pick out this Varus, and yes, they get it done, but the cost was great for their transgressions. And now, this was an Aatrox that was behind, now with a 300 gold shutdown, and the Orianna, who's been up the entire game, pushes her lead forward, having a 550 gold shutdown, on top of being up almost 50 CS.
Yeah, and it feels like it's stemming back to that 4-for-0. This just feels like an extension almost of that previous play. The gold that was transferred from Syndicate's bank account straight into Iceborn's just now gets exacerbated. Yet more fighting, yet more skirmishing. Iceborn come out on top again. And it's not the largest of overall leads, but it does feel like an overwhelming majority of this 2.5k gold lead is on the mid lane right now. It is for Mirai against Fire Mana, who now has a full Zhonya's completed as his second item up against a Hextech Alternator for the second item of Fire Mana. It just does not compete right now, and he's forced to back away once more. The side lane belongs to this Orianna, and because they're playing it so strong on the weak side, it means that the rest of the map is also amazing for Iceborn. They can play around their Aatrox a bit more, keep him invested, keep him playing the game very well, make sure the mid lane is getting all the push they could possibly want, and you can just leave this as an isolated 1v1 that the Lissandra can never win.
Yeah, I mean, so ultimately here for Syndicate, right, they got those, first 2 dragons, and that in theory should buy them a lot of time, right? Unfortunately, Xayah is in the point of the game where she's not very strong. Of course, right, especially building something like Yuntal's, you don't have the immediate spike from something like Essence Reaper, where Yuntal's a bit more of a scaling item. Now having the IE, right, if they had taken that fight with the IE, maybe that would have changed some of these plays. Although,
hello, Fire Mana. Would you like to die? Would you like to flash and also get flashed on by Mirai, who locks him down once more? No Frozen Tomb even invested as we turn our attention back down to mid. Katarina looking for a play, can't quite find the correct driving angle to find Calburn though. So it's just a little bit of a whiff on the E, but still overall trade advantage definitely going Iceborn's way, if for no other reason than for the top lane, in which Mirai is just absolutely dog walker. Just cannot do anything at all, can Fire Mana. And the Drake now spawning in 2 minutes feels almost like a Hail Mary that Syndicate could be forced into, just try and get a soul point. Not even the soul. I don't. How else do you just wait for 15 minutes to try and fight her then? I'm not even sure right now. Is Katarina looking to keep the game going a lot quicker by the seams of it? Just going to go straight into the Wolf Pit and still find the Cassante with the first pick of this fight. Perfect tempo, ulting onto Calburn in the backline. He's going to get the kill onto K-How. This fight is incredibly scrappy for both sides. Mirai is not really getting the most damage out as a result. Counter's going to basically pull this one through from the brink, but he's going to be eviscerated by this Lissandra, who's once more got a random shutdown to pull themselves back into the game. And now it's Katarina that's 1v3, hitting on a clone, hitting on a Wukong, will finally pick the right target and take down yet another kill. Picks up some Heartsteel stacks, and is going to look to drive themselves back out to safety with his grand entrance with his name on it. And Fireman is going to look to pick up yet more in this fight. Can't quite find it. And Skarnet will drive out to safety. A very scrappy fight indeed. I think ending up as a 4-for-3, but I'd be hard-pressed to even try and work out why we were fighting there from Iceborn.
Yeah, very, very scrappy, and fighting in that choke actually ends up benefiting Syndicate because the shockwave never came through from Mirai.
Oh my god, Skarner items.
So that, and yeah, the Skarner is becoming more and more unkillable as it turns out. The Saya has a lot of work to do in terms of getting some itemization here. Like, we're looking at like needing 4 items here to kind of like for Saya to deal with it. But regardless, they do find a pretty needed fight win in their top or bot side jungle, where ultimately without that, we're probably looking at a very quick game 1 end here, as I don't necessarily think they would have had any way of getting control back. But regardless, find a good win. I think they're going to have to give up Drake. I don't think there's a way to find it. I think that last team fight was simply a miracle, and they should treat it as such. In fact, opting to go towards Baron at the moment to get some vision down.
Yeah, I mean, the longer they fake the contest, the better it is, because Loco Poco is doing some split push Cassante-isms. Has got himself a frozen gauntlet, and as such, with the Sheen procs, can be decimating that turret just as good as any Aatrox ever could want to. The rest of the team turns up, takes down the top tier 2 in response, so trying to get some gold for that Drake. It's just the second Drake as well of Iceborn's game, so there's no biggie from that perspective. You are going to be losing out pretty heavily in mid, but they're just going to go full sending here as 5. And Iceborn either had to like retaliate with bases or try and retaliate with a base end. I'm not really sure which is going to be working both times, but they could be base racing. This is a very awkward position for both teams. Inhib taken, base is started to be channeled by Syndicate. Counter's trying to 1v5 under his Nexus turrets. Another base going to come through. Mirai doesn't fancy going for the base race. They're going to trade Inhib for Inhib, mid for top, and they could even look to take it further. Iceborn, this is dangerous. TP in from Counter. If they can delay these bases, it's absolutely huge. TP back to the Nexus turret itself. Syndicate are going to try and turn up in time. Loco Poco has a massive shield to try and do precisely that. Nexus turret 1 has already fallen down. Calburn trying to get into the fight, has no Cyclone. Impale onto the Cassante only, doesn't do a great job there. And Calburn's already found his way onto Bill Murray. There is no Orianna for this fight at all. And this is a 4v5 at best that Iceborn have to find something in their favor of. They've got 2 for 1 rather so far. The Nautilus being traded for the solo laners. If they can disengage now, it will be an absolutely fine play for them. But what an odd macro play from both sides. Neither team wanting to just give up on their own plan, full sending it to the point of nearly ending the game at 20 minutes for no reason.
Well, that would have been certainly a way of ending the game for either team. Maybe an end of all time. Not the best of all time, but certainly an end of all time. The biggest question mark here for me, and it's about Syndicate, because I actually think Iceborn's idea was right, just was not executed properly. The big thing here is Syndicate initially try to press the advantage on the inhib, but for whatever reason, they actually just get super cold feet. They're like, no guys, we can't do this. Like, they tried to initially kill Counter, right, with the Cyclone usage, but they didn't really invest anything else, right? Like, there was no investment of anything else to utilize there. And there was only one back coming in from Mirai, who, yes, is pretty strong in the moment. Is Mirai simply going to change that? I feel like they could have maybe pressed the advantage a little harder, or you know, after they got the inhib, opting to just straight up back would have been another option. But now Baron being started by Iceborn.
Yeah, and it's going alarmingly quickly as well. I didn't think this would be going quite as fast, especially with the lethality and not an on-hit Varus, who is going to get pulled away from the pit, but because you don't pull away the jungler's there still to smite it, and Loco Poco has sacrificed his life to try and get this fight started. Shockwave going to try and delay this input as long as possible. It's a huge knock-up combo, and it's a team wipe of Syndicate. They get absolutely eviscerated. 26 minutes, they flip the game after already losing the Baron. And there's 2 super minions in the mid wave with Baron to assure that this is going to be the end of game 1. I cannot explain how this game has ended so quickly after being so even for so long. It's not even a massive gold lead right now. It's not even 6k, but the game is ending at 26 minutes because Iceborn apparently are pull teams into doing some very questionable things, all in the name of trying to kill Kahal, who was just not the target this game. It has to be said. 2, 3, and 12, he did his job admirably. But the fact that there was so much focus on him and such little focus on Mirai is astounding.
Funnily enough, that one like weird base race moment is what seals the deal for Syndicate. That Baron will not end the game at all if they simply just don't completely break down over this weird base race, because they were kind of just, again, they didn't commit to an option. They didn't commit to running away after the inhib or trying to end the game. They simply got cold feet, hesitated, got punished for it, and that punishment ends up coming in a little bit later off of a bad team fight into a Baron play, and a game end at 26 minutes here. Pretty quick. But I agree with your point, right? I think the idea of like going for Varus when you're in these team fight moments, right? The Varus does not perform very well in team fights, especially at the stage of his items right now. He's simply there for poke. He doesn't have a lot of CDR to be rotating through his abilities at the moment, especially with his item build here. Like, he's not going to be rotating through his skills very quickly to do a lot of teamfight damage, right? You have a Xayah who's starting to spike 3 items here, and also Loco Poco goes in too early. There's no team follow-up there, right? Like, maybe this goes a little bit different if he just waits 5 seconds for his team to get there on time. But by the time his team gets there, Loco Poco is just already dead in the back line. So it's a 4v5 from that moment, but crucial Shockwave into Q2 combo there from Aatrox to seal the deal and the fate of Syndicate in game number 1.
Yeah, well, we'll see if they can come back from this one, or if it's going to be too much emotional damage inflicted after being in such a solid position for so long, to suddenly take a couple of weird fights and find yourself losing a game that you had a very good chance of playing for a win for so long in just 26 minutes. Can be very demoralizing. We'll see what happens after this break when we get ready for draft of game 2. sorry, I shouldn't be laughing, but I just heard the countdown. It set me off. I'm so sorry. I feel so bad for Loki right now. She's doing her absolute best doing this production for us while almost being at death's door. But we are ready for game 2, and it could be Syndicate at death's door as well, as they are not having a great time of things today. Iceborn absolutely dominant, as they have been this whole regular season, looking to inflict yet more punishment on an org that has seen the highs and the lows. And it feels like they're almost in a low right now because Iceborn are just disgustingly strong.
Yeah, I'm again last game though, like realistically, kind of just decided by. I mean,
Oddness.
a very odd such like occurrence of events in 5 minutes, genuinely. But do I realistically think that Syndicate win that game regardless? I think the way they were playing, no. I genuinely just don't think they were coordinated enough. Because again, they kind of kept trying to force onto Cahal, who again is not the carry this game, right? Like he's not the team fight like carry you need to worry about. Now, if you find good pick potential, go for it, right? Like if it's a good pick, go for it. You might as well, but the strength of their comp last game was their counter engage, right? Like playing off of the engage of the opponents rather than trying to force the issue themselves. And every single time they force the issue themselves, barring some pretty egregious mistakes by Iceborn in that last game, they lost every single time. Now, of course, bans remaining the same as besides the Aurora. The Aurora does end up getting through here and will be first picked as seeming like Iceborn getting their pick of the male mid laners so far throughout the series.
Yeah, I mean, Iceborn banning, they banned the Aurora second rotation in game 1 to make sure they couldn't have that into the Orianna for Syndicate. Taking this time as the B1, probably next on the list, I'd assume, at least from their point of view. Happy to just take what they can. They do take that Orianna on the other, the Aurora, sorry, on the other side of things. And chances do still exist, right? They're not completely gone, and the meta is still yet to really take shape as well, right? We are barely hours into this patch. No one's really sure what's good, what's bad. You just know what was good before. If you want to take a Lucian media, a Lucian army here, I feel that Syndicate are well within the rights to say it worked for us before, it can work for us again.
I mean, blind picking the Lucian though can be like this kind of double-edged sword here. Yes, you're gonna get a strong lane. You can play Lucian Braum as well. Definitely not the worst end.
Right.
But the biggest thing is, right, like there's so many things that can answer. You could even pick a weak side bot lane here, right? Play something that can kind of just chill. So speaking of, there's no Smolder ban this game. Could pick that if they want in terms of, looking at weak side. But with the Lulu Hover, that's likely not to come through. Could be looking at... Okay, well, I do not like this answer at all, but it is an answer, I suppose.
And they banned the Seraphine too. They banned the Seraphine.
Very confident answer as well. They did not really hesitate about their Ash Lulu. They just decided to play it no matter what. So whatever. I won't yell at a clown about it for too much longer. With the Lee Sin Hover, I would say I think Lee Sin is a little hard this game. You get polymorphed and you get very, 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 very sad. So smart choice, I think, picking the J4 here. You got 2 mobile bot laners, you might as well slam that in the bag. And Nocturne ban, I think, is appreciated. In fact, I'm very shocked that teams are just not playing Nocturne. Like, he is, in fact, the best jungler at the moment.
And he's completely unaffected by what they did to Experimental Hexblade as well. That's
Yep,
a ranged
yeah,
only thing.
like that is a ranged only nerf. So, man, I cannot believe they experimented by like removing the attack speed and making it an AD, like just giving AD. Thank God that did not go through. By the way, I can't even imagine them being like, I can't even imagine like talking about that at a meeting. Like, guys, what do we want to do about this experimental hexblade? Yeah, let's just remove the attack speed and make it have like 45 bonus AD when you press your ults. Like, no.
Just delete people. It's fun, right?
No,
just
no,
absolutely
no.
destroy people. Imagine like the talent players.
Riven would just go ballistic with that item, but regardless, would probably force her out of
You
building.
could have had some amazing Z builds, like Experimental Hexblade into Axiom. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, definitely.
insane.
Regardless, good choice to not go through with that change because yeah, that would have been we would be looking at a very different meta, I'd say, for sure, coming through if that came through. But regardless, we're getting into the last round here of picks for both teams. We have the Vigar being hovered here as a response on the Aurora. Now you can punish out the Aurora with your Event Horizon. Although, if you do place the Between Worlds correctly, you can get yourself out, or I suppose in on top of the Vigar, out of the cage. That's very hard to do, though. So we'll see if that comes into fruition, although I highly doubt it. Again, very difficult to pull off. Also, there's some tech where you can kind of delay your Q animation, so it starts from where you initially fire it, like the animation does, and like the VFX, but you actually still get the extended range if you do it. There's a Aurora One Trick who has been talking about it for some time now, but that is a very niche mechanic. It almost never pays off, but it can catch you off guard, I suppose, if it does come out. And Scion Rexizer, you just take away the Scion counter immediately. No response here. With Aatrox off the table, that's gone. Gwyn is banned. The Mbessa could be an answer. Although I'm also of the belief that Mbessa has a counter into Scion is kind of fake. I think the Scion just gets infinitely more value, especially now that the ult got nerfed. And it will ultimately be the Zehen as the lock-in.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, Scion is still Scion, right? That you're always going to have an issue playing up against him because he's Scion. And no matter what you pick, it's not going to be the most fun of times. In terms of solo queue, it's a very different prospect to what we're watching here, but Zahen is the worst Scion matchup, right? Scion's least favorite thing is getting put behind by the Zahen and then entering that kind of mid to late game and just being out team for. I can't remember if it was here, it was on Premier where we saw a Zahen get way too fed way too quickly and just dominate a game. Was that last week?
I'm pretty sure it was last week.
He went like 17 kills or something. Like Zahen can do the things where if you get strong early, he will 1v9. And Scion has been known to give over a couple of deaths as well, right? He's not exactly scared of dying early on, giving over that gold. When both top laners get fed in this type of way, it could definitely favor the Zahen a bit more. And when that's the case, I'm quite scared for what Iceborn have behind them. But at the same time, it's a Scion. And I find it very difficult in any meta, but especially in the last couple of months, to ever bet against the Scion.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I was actually gonna go with like the opposite approach. Every time I bet against Vigar, I always end up being wrong. Like that's just the unfortunate bit. But that being said, I want to talk about Lulu in this game, right? So Lulu, back when we were in a Lucian Nami meta for a while, Lulu at the end of that started to get teched into it because the realization of, hey, when Lucian's dashing in, I can just polymorph him and it just prevents all of his trade damage, right? Because he no longer has the dash. And we get to walk away to safety. Sure, he might get a couple, like some damage in, but that's what Lulu shield's for. So you can polymorph the Lucian, shield what little damage he's able to do before the polymorph goes out. And then you can kind of short trade during the polymorph and then walk away to prevent any of the elongated trading coming through from the empowered Lucian auto attacks from the Nami. So I like that answer. And outside of the lane, right, look at the pressure on polymorph this game. It's actually very low. Realistically, in my mind, you should just polymorph the Zahen. Who else are you polymorphing this game? It's kind of useless. Like, polymorphing J4 doesn't really do anything because he's able to get all of his abilities off without polymorph being an answer to it. Zahen, on the other hand, though, is a massive threat, I think, for your comp. Because outside of Zahen, I don't really see the Scion dying to anyone to your team. Barring Lucian being up 10 kills. that is a possibility, I guess. Solo Mason could just have the career game on Lucian. But the Scion, in my mind, is going to be an issue. Especially because, like I said, the polymorph coming through onto Zahen completely just kills any chance at a good team fight here getting through the wall that is Scion.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not just the Scion wall either, right? We've got Rek'Sai, which isn't quite as tanky as he can be in the top lane, but in the jungle, still very a hybrid of that bruiser and tank version, and as such, provides a very solid front line with which to Lulu, Ashe, and Aurora your way to potential wins here for Iceborn. Syndicate can be trying to break their way through. If they can find any flanks onto the backline instantly, I'm sure they'll take them. If they can't, they got to take the time to get through this front line, and in that time, they could very well be melted by that backline of Iceborn. A very fascinating game waits us here in Game 2. We're back when we're ready on the Rift for that game in just a few. welcome everyone in for game number 2 of the series between Iceborn and Syndicate here in BOL Diamond. Straight into things once more, and we are straight into some very aggressive-looking mid lane by the sounds of it. Mirai not wanting to let a Veigar scale, if you can imagine that being the case. Ignite and Electrocute to try and destroy Fire Mana as fast as possible. As for wards, also being destroyed pretty early on. Bill Murray going with the sweeper to make sure that neither side has access to the early mid side brush in the bot lane, as we are getting away finally with our lane fights.
Yep. The hardest bit here, if you are going to be Iceborn's bot lane, is letting Braum sit in these bushes, right? It's how he's going to prevent the massive amount of poke damage coming through from double range bot lane onto him earlier on. And thanks to the sweeper pickup here for Bill Murray, meaning, they can play around this mid brush very, very, very heavily and safely, right?
What is Rek'Sai doing here?
Oh boy.
Katarina, what are we doing here, buddy?
This is a choice.
What's the plan? What's the plan there? Is the plan to just give her first blood? Spotted, by the way, on his raptors, on vision, the whole way through. Look at that. Look at the wards in the blue side, in blue's jungle. We have a ward in between Gromp and blue, a ward in the banana brush, and a ward on raptors. Katarina was going to be spotted no matter where they started, and going straight from raptors into enemy blue was on perfect vision and was just never going to work, unfortunately. Calburn calls in the cavalry, and Perfect Tempo happy to pick up that first assist as well. Veigar wants to get in on the action. Fireman would love those free stacks for getting a takedown. Couldn't quite get there in time, but I don't think they'll be all too mad about it. All that they want to do right now in Syndicate is get that bridge to the late game where the Veigar is, almost an unstoppable force against Kahal and Mirai. And with a Jarvan getting an early kill like that and the Rek'Sai being put a bit behind, feels like they're already halfway there.
Not really. Yeah, I mean, I don't really know what you accomplish out of that invade, to be honest. Okay, you prevent J4 from having one camp. I guess that's pretty cool. And that's the best case scenario, is you deny his blue buff. Oh no. Anyway, moving on. There have been much, we see it happen. We've seen, junglers who are getting invaded a lot, especially looking at the very high end of play, and they still recover. The role, counter jungling.
It's a lot more forgiving than it used to be.
Exactly, right? Counter jungling doesn't put junglers out of the game like they used to, and Katarina does.
That would have been depressing.
Yeah,
if he's stolen that
been...
crab, I would have been sad for the Rek'Sai. Katarina just about able to yoink that one away. Didn't even smite for it, as we're getting a massive trade going on in mid. Fire Mana forced to flash away. Mirai using flash and Ignite can't quite find the kill. And then Katarina's going to be there to make sure that Mirai will escape. Be able to push the wave in afterwards as well. Fire Mana has TP though, so it'll just be all 4 summoners used by the mid laners. And I think Veigar kind of happy with that turn of events. Now a lot less threatening for the next couple of minutes with no Ignite on Mirai.
Yeah, I mean, decent play from Mirai to actually force Fire Mana out of the lane. But did cost both summoner spells, as Calm is getting
I love this idea. I mean, this is so delayed, but who would ever expect the Jarvan to still not have based? Hasn't even taken off the first blood after a full rotation of camps. He even gets a second kill to add to his incredibly large wallet before he finally is able to go back to the fountain. Counter looking on the top side, forcing a flash exchange. Bill Murray, he's fine. I don't think that's a dive potential. Syndicate, please, no, just push the wave. Everything is okay. You don't need to do all this. Katarina actually going to turn back up after killing his Krugs. Solar Mason a little bit in danger, but nice tanking there for Perfect Tempo will get him out safely. That there is one of the first buys for Jarvan I've ever seen.
That is that's a pretty nice buy there. If you are a J4 player, I'm sure you could complain about it. Man, it's not I just want first item.
I would have loved Sun to Sky at 5
levels
minutes.
agreed, by the way, for that. This is an insane first buy. Get Rek'Sai's buy as well. Womp womp. Right, level 6.
Yeah, level 6 timer. We thought Fire Mana might be safe for a little bit of time. Turns out he just is not. Mirai on the pullback from the Q2 has enough damage in the kit. When you go between worlds, the Electrocute in hand doesn't even need the Ignite at the end of the day. Fire Mana just not quite having enough health to survive this time round. And I'm surprised that Mirai wasn't in turret range for those when he was stunned. But the fact that he wasn't means that it was a very easy solo kill indeed. And now Fire Mana is being put pretty damn far behind, and it's not going to be all too much fun. For I'm going to estimate the next 20 minutes of Veigar this game. Starting out with a Ruby Crystal and a Sapphire Crystal, that boy is building a Rod of Ages. He is going to exist in the kind of 25-minute mark, but until then, not at all.
You know, you have Event Horizon, that's about the extent of your capabilities for a while here, and sometimes that's all you need. Unfortunately, it does not bail him out there in that mid lane play, as we did in fact see Mirai get that solo kill. Nice usage of the level up timer there. Unlike Fire Mana last game, it does disrespect Mirai's level up timer, which actually got Mirai ahead in that first game on the Orianna. But for Iceborn, again, this Rek'Sai being behind does hurt a little bit, but another gank.
No. Oh no, you know what hurts more than a Rek'Sai being behind? Say it with me. It's a Veigar being behind. This guy is not having fun. And every death that we take sets that time back a little bit further. Previously I was saying 25 minutes is when it's going to become useful. Now it's going to be more like 26, 27. It's going to keep on increasing the further and further he gets put behind. He will be useful eventually by virtue of being the champion that he is. But the fact that he wasn't able to get that early takedown for the first blood that was almost gifted over to him, and then he's not able to get anything going afterwards, a repeat gank this time from Katarina punching the flash timer that Fire Mana had no way of mitigating. It's just going from bad to worse for the Veigar right now, as K-Hal's in a little bit of danger himself, does not have a flash, and is stuck in the Thunderdome. That's a very dead-looking Ashe.
Overstays, and level 6 before the J4 comes through after the flash was burned on the last gank. Right,
oh no, not again. Not again. I mean, you already used Electrocute, so I guess we don't have to worry about that, but the Q2 does a disgusting amount of damage, and you can have all the level up you want. Luna's just here for an assist, doesn't want to hit in case they accidentally steal the kill, so the shielding is going to give Bill Murray the assist that they were looking for. Effectively a solo kill, though, for Mirai, as they move up now to 3-0. All of them basically solo on the mid lane, and that is an insane Ashe arrow. It somehow doesn't last very long at all.
There's no Q, actually, from counter there.
How did that, that was 2 seconds of stun. It feels like it should have been more when he's fired out from, his base. Counter misreads where he's basing as well. Loco Poco gonna actually survive that one to get to the base. Counter is gonna at least get a proxy off. I feel like that should have been a very dead-looking Zarhead. I don't know how he's still alive.
Yeah, I think Decimating Smash just wasn't on cooldown there to chain. Well,
I'm just going to keep on fighting. Let's polymorph for Jarvan, because they are looking to engage. No Cataclysm this time for Calburn, and K-Hal looks to turn the fight round a little bit back in his favor. Unfortunately, all that poke going onto the Jarvan doesn't really mean much. He can either press B and get a Sundered Sky, or he could go clear some camps, then press B, then get a Sundered Sky. He doesn't care about taking that poke, just looking for the play. Doesn't quite work out this time round, but he already has his first item of the game, the first on the whole Rift. Actually, not the first on the Rift, my bad. Mirai has a Storm Surge, but still very, very fast, very accelerated, in opposite sides, the jungle and the mid lane of these two teams.
Well, so we talked about Zehen kind of being the threat towards the Scion.
Not yet.
Well, about that.
Mm-hmm.
Counter is kind of not caring. In fact, is up CS. That last play, yes, he didn't get the kill, but the amount of CS that was lost, even through Loco TPing top, right? This is not great here for the side of Syndicate. They have been doing a good job at getting these early game, dragons. That has been something that, also existed last game. But this is looking kind of similar to game number 1, where they're focusing as Crystal Arrow.
Okay, let's try and do two things at the same time on opposite sides of the map. We know that works out well. Counter does have Flash. This is not a play that you can make. I don't care how many Zarhen passes you have. You could have 2 of them. It wouldn't be enough to get this Scion out of the game. And the Enchanted Crystal Arrow doesn't quite have the full impact on the bot lane. The Solar Mason does have to burn barrier in the exchange. Calburn is going to flag and drag forward, but that's still a Scion with W available. Going to be forcing the flash
No
out of
shot.
Calburn and still getting the kill onto Loco Poco, waiting for the turret to finally fall off is Calburn. But that's double flashes invested and still a 1-for-1 where the Scion gets to catch the wave. Why are we ever diving Scion?
Oh man, it's so brutal. And Bill Murray taking a little bit of a trade there. The play in bot lane did not really net into anything other than a barrier there from Solo Mason. But for me, right, like this J4 is ahead, that's great and everything. But again, it's been this focus on Cahal, who in reality, last game was playing the Varus, the poke Varus, right, and that kind of got them into the rut initially. Cahal actually might be in some danger here.
Yeah, very dangerous, very dangerous indeed. The concussive blows falls off, but it's not going to matter because the slow from the Winter's Bite is enough, even without the Brawn passive. A Glacial Fissure just catching them after getting tagged out while trying to recall. Cahal just not quite finding the same timer as his support. Bill Murray had already been back to base and was wandering back down the lane. Ash just a couple of seconds later to the base, spotted going into the brush, and while it looked pretty blind, it kind of wasn't. Tempo knew exactly where, knew exactly what he was doing, exactly where to aim, exactly how to get that kill in the bot side. And looks like Katarina also knows exactly where to be as he makes the play up towards top. Loco Poco trying to make it aggressive once more, using the passive to force a trade onto counter, but unfortunately it gets popped and he gets popped afterwards. Almost like an Anivia there, more than a Zarhen. Just uses the passive and then delete it again instantly.
Yeah. Such is the way of things when you have a revive sometimes. But great gank there from Katarina to not a pretty easy one. And, well, Cahal has definitely been a bit disrespectful this game, if nothing else. Because, again, I think having 3 deaths this game is maybe a little egregious. That last one in particular should have just flashed the Glacial Fissure out. Like, greeted.
If you're going to have to flash anyway, then you may as well flash early.
Like you greeted. I mean, even if you didn't need to flash, it's better to flash and guarantee you're alive than chances, right? Like, because realistically, your ability to parse whether or not you're going to live in that situation at this level is not going to be strong. Like, it's not going to be good enough to, like, so just flash. If you end up wasting flash, so be it, but at least you would have lived. Like, you at least guarantee you live. And of course, of all like egregious flashes we've seen where people are flashing even though they're safe because they kind of panic flash, that one definitely would have been by far one of the lowest on the list ever. So I personally would have just flashed there, but regardless, does not, flashes later and dies anyways. Fire mana is 100%.
Oh no. Here. I mean, does have flash, maybe can escape. Great usage of the cage, the Event Horizon. Is not enough because they go untargetable and get dove on by a weird void lane creature. TP's down to bot lane after Cahal has taken death number 4. Counter turns up and then walks away somewhat. Concussive blows procced. He's still looking for this play because Loco Poco's also TP'd in, and the Zarhen is very awkwardly positioned, does have a Grim Deliverance, and feels like he may have to use it soon. Finally going to pop it onto Katarina, but he's able to get out of dodge himself. Uriah's going very dangerously far forward himself, but he's actually going to be able to survive with the flashback after going between worlds, and it ends up being a double kill for Katarina. The guy that was chunked out initially is playing Rek'Sai, so the early chunk out doesn't carry on till later, and Counter is still there to tank about 15 turret shots while they go for the dive of the last 2 remaining members. The Rek'Sai finally going to fall down, but Counter's still tanking up the turret because Scion is Scion, and the Jarvan will eventually fall down. All 5, I believe, maybe falling. I don't remember. 5 out of probably wasn't there. Weird plays, deaths, everything.
Fire mana ended up dying like mid to Mirai.
Oh, okay, that'll do it too.
Yeah, that's why Rek'Sai didn't.
Oh yeah. That happened so long ago.
Yep, and just now getting around back on the map. So here's where my mind at is for Syndicate, right? I think Loco Poco like TPing there makes no sense. The play is already over. Like in my mind, that play is over. You should just cut your losses, or I guess take your victory, right? Cahal once again getting punished in this game. And this is where you can kind of come back. We saw it last game with Counter, right? Counter didn't TP to that bot lane play, and ended up, finding some good gold that was ultimately, well utilized later. we find Loco Poco in a very similar situation, except opting to teleport in, and it's just so disastrous because they feel like they have to get value from his TP. Also, the TP was not in a good spot, all things considered, and that
Straight into a
also
polymorph does
tells
kind of
them,
suck.
yeah, it does also end up biting them a little bit there. And unfortunately for Iceborn, well, last game was definitely a closer one than this
Is he
one.
dead?
Could be. The counter is feeling confident here, but
I mean, he has Unstoppable Onslaught. I feel like one more Decimating Smash and Logopoco is very dead indeed. I feel like I might not even need the Decimating Smash, I'll be honest. I think if you just hit your R, if you get the knockup especially, there's enough CC, enough damage within the kit right now for the Scion to go for the kill. Instead, they're going
gotta
to
hit those.
not go for it. Discretion being the better part of Valor, as an attempt is made onto the jungler. Calburn barely going to escape away from Enchanted Crystal Arrow, but it will be the Drake likely head over here to Iceborn. A very late second Drake after a very early first one. Syndicate, knowing they hadn't been able to fight for quite a while, Iceborn kind of delaying their own soul as a potential win condition. They're looking right now at kind of a 31-minute soul. Not the latest by any stretch of the imagination, but you'd hope by that point that Veigar will be a lot more into the game than he is right now. Already has the row at 2 stacks, so we're looking kind of about the 24-minute mark for that Rod of Ages to be properly online, as he is going to ult into the bot side, and Mirai's going to tank that with the space, push out another wave and then base. And Kuhal is going to flash away from Cataclysm. Nice. Still looking rather dead. Does have a wild growth, but still very dead, as it turns out. Turret being tanked by Tempo is going to get him out just safe enough, but Katarina says, no, you weren't safe enough, actually. I would like a free kill. I'm Rek'Sai. You get to die today. Calburn, would you like to go down as well? Because I feel like I'm on a killing spree right now as a Rek'Sai. Goes for the underground, can't quite find it. And all the time, Counter's just slowly chipping away at another tower.
I genuinely do not know how Cahal keeps finding himself in these positions. Like, it's like every time the camera pans, he's just dead. To the Braum, like to the Braum tagging him with something, or Caliburn being there. And that is kind of the like light shining here for Syndicate, is they have been able to punish the AD carry of Iceborn time and time and time and time and time again. 5 deaths now here on the Ashe. Now, doesn't matter though. that is where it ends up being kind of the question that I suppose Syndicate are having to ask themselves. This is a 4-in-1 Lucian. So the Lucian is going to start swinging, although with the Navori second, yes, you get to rotate through your CDs a lot, but it does put you that much farther away from your IE, which, you know, that is a huge damage increase.
And it is still a Scion that you have to chunk through. Unfortunately for you, you have to kill a Scion. And looking at the amount of damage and CC and health that he has, it's difficult. Locopoco understanding that, flashing away from the gank attempt, straight into Mirai's welcoming arms. Maybe could have used Blast Cone into a portal to escape there. That may have been the only way to properly get out. Flashing over the wall straight into enemy mid does not feel very good at all. And Mirai happy to pick up his 5th of the game. Knight KP out of 12 for the mid lane and being very involved in this game, as Bill Murray does not care that there is a stop jungle in his face. He has an Ashe Arrow to help him out, and there are Merc Treads for Perfect Tempo to try and mitigate that CC, but there's also Scion in your backline already, and Counter is just kind of standing there, channeling Q in your face. Perfect Tempo is going to fall down once more, and Calburn, that turret is not the safe haven it used to be, unfortunately. Katarina is tanking, but the Scion is also there to tank afterwards, and, I mean, did he even take damage during that fight? Look at the health bar. Did he?
Also Wild Growth comes in as well on a Scion, so that'll also be an issue. As well, I mean, Syndicate, I think, man, I cannot believe this game is called. This is like so.
You are asking for death number 6 if you're walking up like this.
What is going on?
I mean, you go 1 for 1, I guess, good bait, because you're about as useful as this Zarhead right now. So trading 1 for 1, sure, why not? Just odd things happening across the Rift. I feel like we had the same thing, similar thing happen in Game 1 of the series as well. It's just weirdness across the Rift and very few explanations that are going to be satisfactory say the very least. Perfect Tempo walking a bit far, didn't place any vision, just walked up, and now Counter is in prime position to try and lock him down once more, and Soppel Onslaught does not care about that cage at all. Decimating Smash onto 2, Perfect Tempo now flashing up, as it's an interrupt on the flag and drag, and Mirai has found his way onto the Braum as well. Calburn gonna pay for the Braum's sins too, and why are we there? Who knows?
I think we're ramping it up early is the initial read here. Almost an 8k gold lead here for Iceborn. They're gonna get this next dragon almost certainly. Like, I cannot fathom Syndicate trying to contest here unless they find a good pick. But the pick cannot come through on the Ashe. The Ashe is literally useless. You need to kill anyone else. You need to kill literally. Oh my brother in Christ! What are we? Are we to support this?
Hold on, no, he's baiting. There's a massive Scion turning up through the Hexgate portals. It's fine, trust me. No, the Grim Deliverance isn't enough because the Lulu's there. Wild Growth and Polymorph gonna keep him alive while he's at death's door. Volley away, back to safety. There is no Mirai for this play as well. This is actually very dangerous from Syndicate. He walks back into range after the Cataclysm, gets slapped in the face by a Java Q. Bill Murray now caught out in the Baron Pit. He's being completely ignored by the rest of the team. Finally, Mirai's going to turn around, but that also leaves the side alone as we go between worlds as the Aurora and the fight does start to turn around. The wallet's just a little bit too large for Iceborn. A triple kill from Mirai's going to look to turn it into a quadra. Could be potentially be having a mid lane pentakill for Mirai. 13 now on the board for him, as he has had an impressive game, to say the very least. It is the solo lanes getting it done for Iceborn.
It is literally the Mirai show in this game. Man, there's just... Sorry, I know we just got a pentakill, but I just have to mention it. There were just so many moments for K-Hall where he just... There were some very...
He doesn't care anymore.
In that fight.
It's support Ashe.
He simply is just... He having the time of his life. Simply.
Like, it's that one time about like 100 games. Yeah, like you're the ADC and you're getting carried, and it's like, oh, I don't have to do anything. I can literally run this one down. It's unlosable for me. It feels amazing because you know you don't have to do anything. The game is just going to happen around you, and things like colors are appearing on your screen. Drakes are being taken in your team's favor. Baron will probably go your way pretty soon, and because you're so far ahead, you can even think you can walk up solo, effectively 1v3 if Syndicate choose to engage, half HP on the mid wave, and it just doesn't matter. Because the rest of your team's just that strong. I can walk up the mid wave at the enemy tier 1. It's fine.
I'm like just replaying that fight in my head, and he's just... Ashe Arrow is gonna go wide. I'll hold that.
Oh my god, that Aurora damage. 3 items of pure burst nastiness will do that even to a Zahen. I guess, to be fair, the Zahen is only on the 1 item. So, you know, somewhat
Zahen is even
mitigated.
Farther behind than the Ashe, bro.
Yeah.
This is actually so tragic for Syndicate. Anyway, so Kahal in that last fight, like, the whole team comes through to try and bail him out, right? And he's like, no, you don't,
I want to die anyway.
Understand. I need to die. but
this was a sacrifice play. It can't be a sacrifice if I didn't die.
Interestingly enough, Caliburn is the one who ends up picking it up, but he should have died to Loco Poco, who was fully stacked passive. And he fucks Pale in range, as Loco Poco is now in danger.
Yeah, the Baron bait working pretty damn well, as Katarina then oversends it. Unfortunately, he is neither Mirai, nor is he Counter, and therefore does not have the burst of a 13 kill mage, nor the tankiness of a 14 assist Scion, and as such will be shredded while going for a little bit of an overextension. Good bait there by Loco Poco. Does have to burn his flash, so we're going to still try and turn around it as Iceborn. Perfect Tempo didn't have a chance. Flag and drag onto a couple is very nice from Calburn, but the Wild Growth onto Mirai is going to keep him nice and healthy. Polymorph onto the Jarvan as he goes back to his flag once more, but Mirai is still alive for the time being, trying to hang on to life, and he will do precisely that. Counter is still completely unchecked. There is passive on this Zahen, but it is soon to be popped if he gets chunked the way that Mirai has been chunking. 5 mana trying to flash forward, doesn't quite land the cage onto Mirai, does land the Q onto Bill Murray, but now it's just Counter who will clean this up eventually. It's going to take his time. He will get through them, I'm sure.
So.
I'm not sure, actually. Decimating Smash onto Fire Mana. Katarina turns back up. I'm sure he died to start this fight off, but he's back once more, because why not? Flash into the knockup. Fire Mana tried to ult the Scion, but he's still a Scion. He doesn't even have to have any MR. He has Zeke's Convergence. That's all that matters. And Katarina is going to finish off the mid laner eventually, dodges away from Winter's Bite, and another messy fight goes Iceborn's way once more.
This just ends up being like the world's longest fight. For kind of no reason.
Yeah,
That
I mean, there's a
started off
world where
with a
Rek'Sai
pick
dies
for
twice in that
Katarina.
fight.
Yeah, like Katarina ends up going in, dying, and then it kind of just breaks down from there. Kahal goes
You can
forward.
TP to the Rek'Sai portals, that's
Almost
sick.
gets a kill. Almost gets a kill onto Solo Mason there, but Mirai KS's it. SMH.
Mid
as
laners.
Burn is looking over the wall. to potentially
Spotted
go
on a
for
control
healing
ward.
here.
He's going to have to really plot this one through. Blue Trinket used.
Here
Gonna
goes.
find the flag and drag. Polymorph. Oh, that was so close to a steal. He's going to end up instead being Cahal's first kill of the game as Solar Mason looks to try and make it 2. Katarina going to take that one away from his ADC before we can get 2 out of hand. We can't be allowing 2 kills for Cahal after this type of game, but we can also have 2 kills as a team, and with the Baron potentially even look for an end right now. 26 minutes was how long it took to finish off game 1. Feels like game 2 doesn't necessarily need to take all too much longer, as it is 5 life for Iceborn walking down mid lane, and the solo lanes plus a Braum might not be enough to stop counter right now. Mirai is going to get stunned up. Grim Deliverance into the backline, but this is a Zahe with no passive. Doesn't even get to proc the full thing anyway. Would have been deleted before he even got it. And counter is still here, 1v2. And Cahal's going to take death number 9 because Fire Mana said, I choose you today.
Game is not over.
Cataclysm onto the Lulu. Calborn is back alive. There are 4 back for Syndicate, and Overstay seems to be the word to describe this type of a situation. Mirai has 1,000 gold if he gets shut down, but
They
he's
just
still
let him
able
do
to
that.
get through the portal in front of their eyes. What a ballsy guy. Just stands there and says, you're not going to be able to damage me in time. 16 kills, 9 assists. He knows his limits, apparently, and he gets out scot-free.
I'm sorry they let him do that, but okay, this game, by the way, is 100% over. Kahal is now 1-9. So, like, the game is simply just over right then and there. But there comes the backs, and it'll be soul point on the rift here for Iceborn.
Katarina having to take a really odd time to pull that base. Wanted to get the scuttle vision before coming back to the Drake fight. Counter can stand here for 5 years and he won't really care. But it does mean the Rek'Sai's going to be late to this fight. And Counter is finally going to get taken a little bit lower into the zombie form. A kill onto the Scion. Katarina overall looking to try and get onto Locopoca, gets a knock onto 2 others, and here comes Mirai. The damage source finally is there, and there's still the zombie Scion, which apparently is able to get a kill that late on. Nice cage for Fire Mana is going to make sure that it's not Cahal to get the kill. It's Mirai, who has clearly deserved player of this game, to say the very least.
Player of the
19
series,
kills, 11 assists, 0 deaths. We could talk about POS potentially, but player of the game, absolutely. That's never even a question. 28 minutes is what it's going to take for game 2 as Iceborn move up to 5-0, 10-0 in overall map score, yet to even be defeated once.
Man, they... I mean, Mirai had more KP in that game than there were minutes in that game. But to realistically talk here, surely teams will adapt and just look at, like, killing Mirai at some point. Like, the whole, like, go on
Any builds on, yes.
Kahal, like, just go on Kahal, guys, surely we'll win the game. It's obviously and very evidently not working. Because Syndicate tried that 2 games in a row and completely failed. Completely and utterly failed. Also, this Ash damage is something. So I'm doing 31,000.
The alarming thing about the Ash damage is that it's comparable to the Lucian damage.
It is. It's higher than the Lucian damage even.
The Ash? Quite.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I'm backwards. But yes, it is close. It is close. But regardless, like, for me, in my mind, I think Syndicate is just a little bit too much. Like, going for the Lucian early pick, you're just opening up, the Scion to come through, and then if you don't have a good Scion answer because, hey, Gwyn was banned, right? Like, things like that are good into the Scion ended up getting banned, and well, they had no way of getting through Zion, and even if they did, Mirai was there to one-shot them before that could even be a question in the first place. So well played to them overall on the side of Iceborn. I think if they need to improve anything, I mean, Cahal was a little too comfortable this game, for sure. Like, by far and away. I think game one was fine. I think, like, realistically, the entire enemy team is just throwing the entire kitchen sink at you, and you're playing poke bars. There's not much you can really do when people get on top of you. That's kind of just the nature of your champ. But this game was incredibly egregious. Like, this was a display of arrogance and overconfidence that I have yet to see from any player ever. Multiple times in this game.
It could have been more than 9.
It could have.
It could have been more than 9.
It could have. It could have.
But the fact that he's like as many deaths as he had, and he's still walking up 1v whatever is
I
coming his
respect
way
it.
on mid wave,
I respect
like nothing's wrong. It's insane.
I respect it if nothing else.
I also have to respect how Iceborn did that because they're now
Like-
10-0.
Yeah, I mean, but for me, right, Fireman, I just felt like was gapped by Mirai today. That's just how it was. If we're being honest, like the Oriana got the initial lead because Fireman completely messes up in game number 1, like disrespecting the level up timer from the Oriana, ends up giving over first blood, which snowballed in the Oriana getting super huge in that game as well. And then this one, well, Mirai finds more than a couple solo kills, to say the least. To get going on the Aurora, as some help coming through from Katarina, but overall just Mirai's excellent play on the Aurora to get things done. And, well, Iceborn gonna claim pretty easy and quick victory here for us on BOL number 1. I'm pretty sure BOL 2 is still going on with some gold gameplay.
It would be shocking if they weren't. They are doing a best of 3, and they started half an hour after us. If they managed to finish before us, I would be.
It is gold.
Panic.
It is gold. So I would.
I
be
mean,
shocked
sure, but-
even if they had started on time with us, I don't find a world where they can find an end that fast. So let's
That's
be
what I'm
honest,
saying.
like,
We
let's
finished
be
both
honest.
games within 55 minutes.
Yeah, insane.
There's no way.
This
So
world record.
we'll send you guys over to that. Well, that's all we have for the Diamond stream. Thank you all for watching. Iceborn taking a commanding position in the Noxus division. As we said before, find themselves at a 10-0 game record. Only team even close to them right now is Dorado Gaming Delta. That is going to be one hell of a matchup when that comes around. But thank you all for watching. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you, Ozzy, for being here with me. Thank you, Loki, for battling through what sounds like a very nasty sickness. And thank you all for being here as Iceborn take yet another step towards making it into the playoffs.
have we fought for these lands? In the shadows